Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
Jordan just off the pod before we started made me laugh so hard I started choking on my spit. People are ungrateful, and that has you a little tilted?
Yeah, Michael's trying to talk to me, and he's like, why are you mad? I'm like, I'm mad because I'm ungrateful, dude. No,
you're not ungrateful. People are ungrateful.
I'm mad because people are ungrateful. Did I say that wrong?
Yeah, but...
Yeah. Listen, I'm super grateful. But you know what? Maybe I'm not grateful enough. I'm not great. Like, life is so good for, like, dude... You go to the bathroom, you flush the toilet, and all of a sudden your pee and poop just whoosh, just goes away. It's gone. You don't think about it. Like, just that. It's like, do you know what people did before toilets? I mean, if you are hesitant to go into a porta potty is miraculous compared to what people used to do with shit. Like, it is insane that porta potties exist. And that is infinitely better than what people used to do with their... Dude, the stuff that people used to do with their own excrement, people wouldn't believe it. They would, like, dumping it out of their windows. They would do it in a bucket, dump it out of their window, and look, oh, it's just all over the street. Just all over the street, walking in it. You got clean running water in your house? You have clean running water, you don't have to go out and get it somewhere? And have to, like, worry about a wolf eating you or a bear or someone else trying to kill you while you're getting that water, and then carry that water back? You kidding me? Regardless of the temperature outside? Oh, you have gloves? You have mittens? Did you buy those mittens from TJ Maxx or Target? Or did you make those mittens yourself? Like, oh my gosh, dude. People are ungrateful. Ungrateful.
What a monologue to start the episode. Jordan watched
I could go on for hours.
A 6-part Netflix historical fiction.
Yeah.
A show about
American Primeval.
Late 1800s. And you wrote something on your story about it, and then people got mad. And so you doubled down and said that people are ungrateful and this is the best time in human history and things are very good. And people got even more mad. And now you're mad.
People got so mad. Now I'm mad
at how ungrateful they are.
You know who really deserves to be mad about me saying that? The people who really deserve to be mad about me saying that, are the people who aren't able to see that story because they don't have a fucking smartphone. That's the people who deserve to be angry about how I said now is the best time, are the people who are like literally modern day slaves, which exist. The people who are like, or going through actual wars right now. The people who come on. If you're sitting in the comfort of your home, or you're at your 9 to 5 and you're getting paid to be on my Instagram and being like, oh, this is so toxic. Shut up.
Where's anger? 1 to 10?
12.
Or 1 to 100. Sorry. 1 to 100.
104.
Where's fear?
22.
Nice. It's my hockey number.
That's a good number. Where's your anger? It's not high enough.
14.
Jeez, dude. Where's your fear?
1.7.
Your fear is lower? Oh my god, dude. You live in you're delusional. You're delusional.
You just told me that this is the greatest time to ever be alive.
It is.
I'm just living in it.
You're delulu. There's still tough. It's still tough out there, bro.
You go the other way. It's like a Seinfeld. Goes on this giant monologue, just a diatribe. Then he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Still tough out here, bro.
And then you start arguing the other side. Too funny. Yeah. Hey, you make a lot of good points. I'm excited to watch that on your recommendation. And I couldn't agree more with, people's perception of the world is definitely clouded with a recency bias. They're not taking into account all of human history, that's for sure. And what is in front of them, primarily on their smartphone, is serving them up what is now their reality, or their perception of reality.
Their perception of reality.
Which it basically is their reality. It might not be reality, but it's what they're living through. It's what they think they're experiencing.
Their perceived reality. And you know what's funny? Especially, I think the unique The unique insight here is, as a content creator, someone who makes content, you know how much time and effort goes into making a post. You know how much time and effort goes into curating something specifically to get a response. Like it's a lot of time and effort. And all the things that you're seeing on your feed are things that, especially the way the algorithm works now, it's things that are most popular. They're getting the most engagement. They're getting people are watching it for the longest period of time. They're sharing it the most. These are the things that have been curated the most to get the highest reaction out of you, to get the biggest response. So people are going to be mad that we say the perception of reality. It's like these things are curated specifically to get this response out of you. And I don't care if it's a news site. I don't care if it's an independent media site. I don't care what it is. Like if it is freaking you out, you have to really step back and say, okay, is this true? Is this real? Or was this done in a way to get me to share it, to get that fear ignited in me, because then I'll share it more and then this page gets more followers and gets like, you always have to think about that because it's a perception of reality.
Didn't someone reply to your story to the effect of, we're living through an authoritarian Nazi takeover of the U.S. government right now? Fascist takeover?
A fascist takeover.
Of the U.S.
Of the U.S.
And so, and they unfollowed because how can you be grateful for life right now when we are living through that currently?
It's unbelievable.
What? Hey, I got a good segue here.
People don't know what fascist means. People have no clue what fascist means.
Jordan's on one. Jordan's passionate today. I like it. I'm on day 15 of zero scrolling vertical video. Speaking of people being outraged about the internet, day 15. I've probably spent 3.5 minutes in 15 days on desktop Instagram, which you were right, isn't fun. I haven't even scrolled there. I've just checked out the Personal Trainer podcast page a little bit. Shout out at Personal Trainer Podcast, our Instagram. I did download Twitter on probably day 4 maybe. So I have scrolled a little, but zero vertical video, just some X on the phone, just a little.
How much time on X, you think?
Way less. I mean, not like nothing that I'm proud of. I would say an hour a day.
Okay, that's not bad. Like cumulative.
Yes, yeah, in like bits and pieces added up.
Do you watch video on X or no?
Very little. My X is I never scroll video on X. Maybe I'll click a video if it's, but no, it's primarily text based or some photos in there. Yeah, I mean, I was going to come into this podcast saying, I think I want to download Instagram again on my phone, not to scroll and consume, but from, as Jordan knows, from some of the conversations we've been having off the pod, I've kind of had a little excitement around business in the last 7 to 10 days. Not like
I didn't know that.
You just have a bad memory. Is that what?
What do you mean you've been having excitement about business? You just want to, you want to take it to the moon, you mean? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the idea of, but I don't know that I'm ready to have it on my phone without scrolling. So that's for the 1.5 to 3 people who are interested. Day 15.
Having the app on your phone without, and with the, I'm not going to scroll is like a crack addict, just like dangling, like literally like a fishing line with crack dangling right in front of their face.
That's a good analogy. Uh-huh.
Just like, yeah, right here. You don't use it.
Yeah.
But it's here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like an alcoholic. Like, all right, let me just like constantly carry alcohol on me at all times. Mm-hmm. And then like a cigarette person, like holding the cigarette in their mouth, but you can't light it.
Right.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
That is what it is. There are some benefits around keeping up with people. Obviously people who are creating content, like we're talking about something different here with content consumption on Instagram, but 15 days, that's where we're at here. One day at a time.
Wait, so were you saying like you were thinking about you creating content?
I wouldn't go that far. I would say,
oh, buddy, don't,
I would say, I don't know what I don't know what exactly the thought process was. Not that. Maybe a little $1.80 on the Personal Trainer podcast page.
Oh, interesting.
No, there's not creating it at this point.
$1.80 for anyone who doesn't know is you go comment on other people's posts, giving your your
2 cents 90 times a day.
Yeah.
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 Gary's $1.80 strategy. Brother. Warm states are the best.
Dude, you're preaching.
Warm climate is the best. I spent 7 days with the family down in Florida. Felt incredible. Absolutely incredible.
You got sun, you got heat, you got time outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're back in the freezing cold, man.
Yeah, I was out and about this morning. It was literally 1 degree when I got home.
Ugh.
So it was probably like 0 or -1 this morning. Yeah.
That's terrible.
It I don't want to be ungrateful given how amazing life is, but I felt so good in the warm weather and the sun. It's going to have to be a play at some point in my life.
Like a snowbird, you'll go down there during the winter.
Yeah, or even
spend 51% of the year.
I don't think you could. It's hard to spend 51% of the year somewhere unless you're like actually retirement age.
Yeah.
They're just, if you think of school schedules, if you think of
things
of that nature.
Unless you homeschool.
It's true. That's true. But some kind of split, some kind of more warm weather. My test felt significantly higher. My drive, really.
I believe it. I know. It's because you're just in such a better mood.
No, I think if you would have done the blood work, I think it just would have been like, oh, his free test is up 30% from these 4 days of vitamin D straight into the skin. You've got it figured out though, down in Texas. You really nailed that one. We were in New York City.
65 degrees today.
COVID hit New York City and you were like, Texas.
Yeah. I mean, we were going to go to Israel and then we were like, all right, well, it's tough right now. And would have been great weather there too. So we're like, all right, we'll go to Texas. It was between Dallas, Denver, and Nashville because those are just 3 places that we like. There's cool, fun places to go. And I really like Denver a lot. Denver is great because even though it can get cold, obviously, it's so sunny. Even when you're on the mountains and all that, like it gets sunny, which that's it for me. Even more than the heat is just I just need the sun.
Yeah.
The gray days is just it's brutal.
Colorado is only 4.4% state income tax. That's not bad at all.
No, not at all. That's what it was. So that was another main one, but we decided on Dallas and we like it a lot.
No 0. Yeah, Dallas is warmer and 0%.
Zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Property taxes are pretty high though. Still end up saving money, but property taxes are pretty nuts.
Yeah. Still end up saving a significant amount if you combine those two. Jordan, tell me about, and David can bleep this name out.
Definitely bleep that name out, David. The same thing that you've been talking about on the pod a couple times, where someone that you're friendly with decides to put you on their email list. I didn't sign up for his email list. Put me on his email list. I'm starting to get emails from it. I'm like, why? Why would you put me on your email list? I'm definitely not going to buy from you. I don't know. I don't know what the strategy is. I don't know who's out there telling people to do this.
That's what I want to know. Anyone listening who has heard a guru using this as a strategy, who is the person who's masterminding this concept?
If you know who this is, please, should we have them email you?
Yeah, info@fitnessbusinessmentorship.com. Let us know because we're very curious.
And we want to reach out to them and tell them to stop. Stop giving this advice.
It's happened several times. It's very interesting.
You're actually losing people money because they have to pay more because you're adding more subscribers to your list who are not going to be buying from you. So you're losing money.
Yeah, you're paying for people who aren't going to buy. You're paying for people who are either going to unsubscribe, report as spam. Like it's going to hurt your open rate and
it's pissing people off
and deliverability. And my last point was it's pissing people off, which is going to lead to brand reputation, goodwill decrease over time. So don't do it. Do not do it. Jordan.
Don't do it.
No one got
I'm going to do it.
That's a great compilation. 2012, No one got rhabdo. What's up with that? Jordan,
I forgot about this conversation.
Jordan and I had a conversation about basically how much better a personal trainer's programming gets over the course of their career. And we were laughing about some of our earliest program design mistakes or just like funny things that we did. And we were talking about super high volume training. And yeah, you were like, no one back in 2012, you never even heard of rhabdo.
Yeah, it wasn't, you know what? I mean, I think there are two components to it. One, you know how when people, there are two main components. The first one I think is right now, if you're sick or you feel like you're sick, feel like something is wrong, you start Googling it. Mm-hmm. And you might have this, you might have that, might have this. I think a lot of people are being fed like, well, you might have rhabdo because you worked out. And they're like, oh my God. And they start telling people that they're like self-diagnosed when you didn't actually have rhabdo. Because if you actually get it, it's really dangerous. But then the other one is the massive rise in CrossFit. And I know a number of people who have like gone from couch potato to doing CrossFit, and their body wasn't ready for the volume that they put on it. And like they did like 100 box jumps in a day on their day one or week one. It's like, okay, yep, it's a real issue. So yeah, those I think are the two main things, just massively inappropriate programming. And then also people who are like really sore, they'll be like, I think I've got rhabdo. It's like, all right, let's chill. Like it's actually really dangerous if you do have it.
Those are great points. And maybe not just CrossFit, but also a mentality of like, go big or go home. Like this, like real, I don't want to call anyone out, but like just a super tough guy, like suboptimally way too much training volume as like, I feel like that was more
common in like the late 90s, early 2000s though. Like that, the whole phrase then was no pain, no gain. Like, do you remember that? Like late 90s, people were like, you go as hard as you can. And if you were not in pain, then you didn't train hard. Like that was it.
I think your first point is perhaps even more valid, which is an increase in generalized anxiety and this like immediately going to the internet to diagnose something wrong with you at the slightest feeling of discomfort.
I know doctors love that. Doctors love it when you self-diagnose and you go into the appointment and you tell them what you have.
I bet they do.
They hate that. Oh, great. You're on Google? Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I was hoping for that.
It all leads to cancer. It's all like, it's
all roads lead to cancer.
Yeah. Oh, you might just have like a little virus, like swollen lymph nodes. Nah, you have neck cancer.
Dude, I've been thinking about that this whole pod. I got a little crick in my neck and I think I got neck cancer. But it might have also been that I slept in my daughter's crib last night for like 2.5 hours. That was probably it.
Which is more likely. Slept in daughter's crib with a crank neck cancer. Yeah.
It's really difficult when my daughter's sick right now. And she just wasn't going to bed. She just wasn't sleeping. And she's great. Like she wasn't causing any noise, but you feel really bad. So I was like, all right, let me go up there and like give her some medicine. And I go in and she's like, Abba, come in, like come in the crib. Like, okay, so I come in the crib. And I do this thing where when I'm leaving the room, I'm like, hey, like lay down. Cause she'll sit up as I'm leaving. I'm like, lay down. Then she'll lay down. So if I get in the crib with her and I'm sitting up, she'll be like, lay down, lay down. And it's like, I can't say no. So then I lay down and then I just fell asleep.
Yeah.
A couple hours go by. And then I had the most excruciating pain in my knee. I don't even know why. I don't know why. It's just like, I think I was all bunched up. And when I fully extended out, it was the most excruciating. I wanted to scream. I was like, what the fuck? And then just got up and hobbled back downstairs.
Age, man. Yeah. I mean, being in a crib and, having your knee flex for 2.5 straight hours. Yeah, weird position. And then you extend. I've had that with my ankles recently at times. If I'm in the same position for a really long time and then stand up, like, you know what? I don't even want to speak that into existence, like the whole getting old thing, but it exists. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You're almost 40.
I'm 37. Yeah.
Yeah. But in April 8, 38.
That's true. Getting up there. I'm going to try and be super jacked at 40. I might try to have my peak natty physique at 40.
You could absolutely do that.
Oh, I know I could. It'd be
You could
awesome.
absolutely, yeah.
It'd be awesome.
You mean like bigger than 2016, Mike? Because 2016, Mike was a giant. You were huge.
Here's the thing. I don't know that I want to. One, I think from an aesthetic shirtless point of view, I can top that just by being not quite as big but leaner. Two,
you were pretty lean though. You were lean.
Yeah. Not for me, I wasn't, but relatively speaking.
Okay. Yeah.
We have to. Bro, I was in a surplus for 6 straight months. I was eating 700 grams of carbs per
zero
day.
Fat. You were literally eating zero fat. You remember those muffins?
They had a couple grams. I was eating 60 to 70 grams of fat on my training days, and like I don't even remember what the high end of carbs were. Somewhere in the 500 to 700 range. Yeah. But it would just be a fun thing to accomplish. I don't know. It's fun to have a target out there.
How do you think your training is now relative to then? Like, do you have big differences between your training then and now?
The suburbs have made me soft. They're eroding my soul slowly.
Really?
Yeah, something needs to be done.
When you go back to the city, do you train differently?
No, the city's different too. No, it's just a matter of prioritization, setting a goal, and like, here's the thing. I'm happy with where I'm at. So I don't have like huge strength aspirations. I don't need to gain a ton of muscle. And the longer you're training seriously, the harder it is to gain more muscle. You're not taking steroids. Even if you are taking steroids, that's true. And from a leanness perspective, I'm in a fine range. So I don't have a motivation like I used to look better.
What was your motivation back then? Like, what was your motivation to be huge and jacked? And like, what was driving that?
I never had the big orexia that a lot of guys get. If anything, I defaulted to wanting to be leaner. Like I came from a Tyler Durden Fight Club era of like being shredded was cooler. I was a lifeguard for 5 years. So that was more quote unquote peak aesthetic than like a muscle monster, than someone who, just has tons and tons of muscle.
You were huge though. I don't think you realized how big you were.
You're overselling me on the pod. Dude,
you were massive. It was insane.
we can pull up. I mean, by today's standards, I definitely wasn't.
By today's standards of people who are not natural. Yeah. But like by any time natty standards, you were huge. And even there are people who are not natural who you were still bigger than and leaner than.
Yeah. Look, you're not lying there. Fun goal. Peak physique by 40 to
was a lot of that like for business?
Not really. No, because I've heard people talk about that like it helps me with work to stay lean. Early on in my life, it was definitely motivated by, at least in part, by like girls, right? Before you find out that
they just don't care,
they don't, like 7% versus 12%, like it doesn't.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You're doing it for dudes, or you end up with more attention from dudes who want to help looking that way, or like, oh, that's awesome, man, than girls. But that was a contributing factor. There was also something about just the routine and habit and like leaning into the pain. There's research around caloric restriction and its effects on the brain and increasing the number of dopamine receptors you have. So there's actually, like, in the short term, dieting sucks, but in the long term, being lean and having muscle and like consistently strength training, you feel way better. So it was almost like I really enjoyed the process of it. And then in the 2014, 2015, 2016 era, there's positive feedback from the internet around having a good physique that then like it is just a little extra motivation on top of what I already had. And honestly, dude, it's one of the great hobbies of my life. Like strength training and paying attention to nutrition is something that is fun and challenging and reward, like fun's not, is challenging, rewarding, and yeah.
I think it's fun. I mean, for me, it's fun.
Parts of it are fun for sure.
Yeah.
Being in a deficit is never really fun.
No. That's never fun.
But
It's never fun.
There's also something to the discomfort associated with an RPE-9 set, being hungry, but like battling, going to bed hungry. Like there's something to that discomfort that sits in opposition of the constant comfort we're all seeking via all of the short-term pleasurable, like whether it's sugar, whether it's scrolling, all of these things that we can just have in an instant to make us feel better. When you sit in that discomfort, you actually end up feeling better in the mid to long term.
I think the thing about that discomfort is it's the excitement of being on a mission. Right? It's like this is I have this discomfort because I'm on a mission, right? And whatever your mission is, if you have the discomfort without a mission, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's like I'll get whatever. There's no mission, there's no goal, there's no reason to do this. But if you've got a mission and you're like, all right, I'm going to suffer for the mission, now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is sick. It's worth it. Yeah, you feel like a warrior.
Yeah. There's a psychological element to that 100%.
Yeah.
I think there's a physiological argument that the discomfort is also good for you in terms of brain chemistry, in terms of
like psychologically. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Easter wrote a book called The Comfort Crisis, which had a lot of interesting anecdote and research in there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Who knows? Peak shape by 40 might be a play. And then just blast steroids out of my mind. Not actually, but maybe a little. Maybe a little TR. No.
Could be.
I wouldn't, because what's the upside? Like a little bit of vanity. What's the downside? Health.
A lot.
Years on the back end of your life. Like, yeah.
Acne.
Yeah.
Hair loss.
A lot of guys. Yeah. I actually would kind of like that.
You would like hair loss? You could just shave your head.
Yeah, I know. I think about it regularly.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Dude,
we know like your hair is a defining feature of you.
See, if that's true, then that's the reason I should shave my head, because what a pathetic existence as a man to have hair be a defining feature of you. Like,
I mean,
I can't think of a greater insult.
Would you ever bick it, just like completely to the skin shave?
I mean, I shaved my head. I buzzed with a one blade like every year or two my entire life. You really make.
But would you bick it?
I would have, prior to developing a little social understanding that would basically like make me Nazi.
No, it doesn't make you Nazi.
It obviously, but in the perception of others,
only in the depths of a weird side of social media, not like any normal individual in the real world.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you.
And you could be like, hey, I've got a Jewish friend.
That just makes you seem more.
I don't know why people say that. I've seen people say that. It's like, oh yeah, people say like, oh yeah, I've got like this kind of a friend or that kind of a friend, and it's like, yeah, but doesn't that actually go against, like, if you were a Nazi, then you wouldn't have a Jewish friend.
Right.
Like,
right.
It actually,
right.
like, it actually is if you actually do have, I saw someone, people have accused Bill Burr of being racist. It's like, his wife is black, right? And then they'll be like, people say, his wife is black, and they'll be like, that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense.
I know. I'm with you.
It doesn't mean anything. I think it does.
It's a valid It's a valid argument in that context. There's also, I think the way that people respond to that has to do with the actual relationship. So someone who maybe is racist can be like, I have a black friend, and they'll be like, what's his name? And they're like, what's his name? And they're like, they don't actually.
They don't actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you do actually, I feel like it's a good data point.
It is good. Yeah, you're right. It's a good data point.
I don't know why people hate on that. Like, I feel like it's an actually good data point, because if you were legitimately a Nazi, then you wouldn't have a Jewish friend.
I'm with you. Look, I'm not actually concerned about people thinking that I'm a Nazi. It honestly,
even though early on in our friendship, you were like, "You're not that Jewish."
Dude, what's the context on that story?
I don't remember. I don't remember at all, but I just remember you saying it. And I thought it was.
You know
hilarious.
what it is? Okay, first of all, you and I have been talking about this recently. I'm actually like the nut worst person in life at being able to identify someone who's Jewish based on physical appearance.
Yeah. You're terrible at it.
At the time,
even by name, you don't, which is crazy to me. Like, even with someone's name, I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely Jewish, and you're like,
Goldstein,
really?
I would be like, but at the time, I think where my head was 2015, 16 ish. I think I just didn't fully understand like Ashkenazi versus Hasidic versus like
Sephardic. Yeah.
But what's Hasidic?
Hasidic is a sect of Judaism.
That's
like
what I meant.
You meant that?
Yeah.
Oh, with the payas. Yeah.
Is that the hair? Yeah. I did mean Hasidic. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't talking about just the like genetic difference between.
Got it.
Yeah. And so wearing a yarmulke or what's the kippah?
Kippah. Yeah.
Kippah. Those were things that.
You got the kippah.
Those were, in my mind, things that people who were Jewish wore, or like, behaviors, whatever. And
I was like, it's a good data point.
And by the way, there was a lot of there was a moment where we like had conversations about God, and you were very ESTP around it. And and you were kind of agnostic and like not really, it's like, oh, I was like,
I was more secular at that point.
You're more secular. Yes. And I don't even know that I knew that Judaism had like any ethnic, like I thought it was purely religion at the time.
Yeah. Most people don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, are you Jewish?
Yeah.
Like, not that Jewish.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That was like 10 years ago. Almost.
Yeah, I think I am going to shave my head, actually. Anyway, let's get to some questions for the people, because this has been a terrible 13 minutes of content.
You kidding me? I think it was great. How did you know you're ready to have kids?
Oh.
You want to do that one?
How'd you know, Jordan?
How did I? Well, I mean, I always knew I wanted kids. It starts from there. Like, there was never a question. I didn't think I was ever going to get married. When I was younger, I never thought I was going to get married, just because.
Like, what age range?
When did I think I was not going to get married? 8.
Oh, okay.
I knew from a really young age, because I saw a horrible, horrible marriage. And I literally remember thinking, why would anyone want to do this? Like, this is terrible. And then I went to a day camp, and I remember talking to one of the counselors, and I was like, yeah, I'm never getting married. And they were like, why? And I was like, because no one likes being married. Like, it's all, and they were like really taken aback. And I remember I would watch stand-up comedy, and one of the reasons stand-up comedy is funny is because it's true. Like, they make it relatable. And always watching stand-up comics all make fun of marriage, both male and female stand-up comics, like hating on their spouses and hating marriage. And then all the sitcoms on TV back in the day, like hating marriage. It was all like, I was like, all right, clearly no one likes marriage. So I always knew I wanted to have kids. So I always thought I would just adopt kids as a single dad. And
so from like 8 to 18, that was your game plan?
Dude, from like 8 to 25, I feel like was my game plan.
All right. So that makes sense as the initial reason for not wanting to get married. Did other reasons ever factor in? Like, was there ever that like, I can just date forever. Like, it's easier. It's more fun. Like, I'd rather.
No, it was literally just like
what you experienced as a kid.
After a certain point, after the honeymoon phase, and not like after, it's just, it will get bad. That was like, why would you legally bind yourself to somebody when it's going to get bad? Like that was where my brain
And
was.
when you say bad, you mean what you saw as a kid.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, I'll just have kids then. I'll just adopt and be a single dad. But then obviously reconnected with my wife and all great. But we knew we both wanted to have kids pretty quickly. We both knew that we wanted to have a pretty big family, God willing. Like we have 2 right now and we would love to have more. But I think the main thing was obviously get married first. And then I think the outside of getting married, it was just, we wanted to make sure we had the financial stability and the time. Those are the 2 main things. Are we financially able to make it work? And do we have the time to make it work? Like, do I have the ability to take my foot off the gas a little bit on my business, like make less content, spend less time, delegate out? Do I have like that? That was really the main considerations. In this moment in life, do I have the ability to take my foot off the gas a little bit? And if I make less money, is that okay? Yeah, that was it. Financial stability and time. Those are the 2 main things.
I love it. I'm just going to give some high-level generic advice as someone who's approaching 40 and trying to be as jacked as possible at 40 and doesn't have kids yet. I don't think anyone's ever actually ready. Like, I think that in today's culture, most people are, let me frame this a little differently. If I could give advice to my younger self, I would say get started with the whole marriage and kids thing earlier. And younger self is tough because then like life doesn't play out the same. And I love the way that things have played out. So maybe I'll say to my younger brother who's imaginary or like you or something, it's like, get married and have a bunch of kids early on. And because you're never going to feel 100% ready. There's no such thing as 100% security or safety in this world. Like there are always going to be things to be worried and concerned about, and no amount of money or no amount of anything is going to make you feel absolutely ready. And
True.
plus the data is pretty clear that like kids aren't as expensive as a lot of people. Kids don't have to be as expensive as a lot of people make it sound. We live in a hyper consumeristic, materialistic society where we spend, like, people complain about the price of housing and have a lot of legitimate grievances now compared to 70 years ago, for example. But let's remember, we're building enormous houses in America compared to the average size of a house and lot sizes back in the 50s. Like, the amount of brand name spending on a personal level for most people is completely out of control. Like so much spending is not on essentials, right? It's not on food, shelter. And obviously for some people it is, but for a lot of people, they're buying a lot of extra stuff that I think that you could raise a family and have a very happy family on less money than a lot of people think.
Yep.
Remember like 4 years ago when the mainstream take on Twitter was it's immoral to have kids because it's bad for the environment? So glad we're past that point in culture.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that wild?
You know what's crazy about that for me is and a separate one is how many people have made it seem like having kids is going to make your life worse. Just focus on yourself. And oh, dude. And I'm not saying having kids is for everyone. And I'm not saying that any of that.
But even the people who don't have kids, just focus on yourself is
terrible.
Like, that's not the way to a good life.
No. And there's so many things you can do, whether it's spending your time giving to charity or doing like a big brother, big sister program. There's so many things you can do to help. But like Yeah, it's it really, you're right. It's the just focus on yourself. That's the major problem.
Even if it's not like meaningful work, like someone
Yeah.
who genuinely loves their career or helping people in any capacity, family, friends, relatives, strangers, through nonprofit, through work, like
Yeah.
there's only so much hedonistic pleasure one can partake in for most people before you realize like this is empty. There's nothing at the bottom of this lifestyle. And I think too many people realize that too late. That's not true. I think some people realize that too late.
Yep.
Right? Like look at lottery winners.
Oh.
It's like you can do whatever, you now get to just focus on yourself and impulsive pleasure for the rest of your life. Doesn't end well.
Dude, so many of them lose all their money too.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's really, really bad. That's like a good example. You know what I equate lottery winners to?
I know. Someone who like blows up overnight on social media.
Have I said this before?
Nope, but I just know your brain and I just saw where you were going based on your eyes.
You knew, and I've never said that before, because as I thought about it, I was like, man, this is a genius analogy I'm about to use.
I know.
That's crazy that you just knew that.
Yeah, we're locked in.
But yeah, blowing up on social media and just getting people, I just want to go viral. And it's like, okay, then all of a sudden you get hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. I've seen this happen. Mm-hmm. And people end up, short term, they've got all this money, they're doing really well. Long term, they lose it all and they end up working for someone else, it's totally fine working for someone else. But the idea, thinking that blowing up on social media and all of a sudden getting millions of followers out of nowhere is the best path to financial freedom and working for yourself, that's not the case in the same way with winning the lottery, because the skills that you develop along the way of doing this is what will allow you to have financial freedom and work for yourself long term. It's not the number, it's the skills that you have in the development process.
Skills you develop along the way, money management on the working versus lottery side.
Yes.
All the skills you develop by working your butt off for years and growing an audience slow and steady the right way. Also, just appreciation for the amount of work you put in.
Yes.
Someone busts their butt for 20 years and works 50, 60, 70-hour weeks for 20 years and practices temperance and saves and like really earns a nest egg, has an appreciation for what it took to accumulate that and isn't just going to blow it in a year on, cocaine and margaritas or vacations or whatever, cars, mansions.
Yeah.
Versus, if you hit it on a scratch off, you have less appreciation for what it took to get it. You're more likely to spend it.
You know what else? I was thinking about the skills that you develop over time. And I think it's less about the day to day. It's less about the things that you learn day to day. It's, in my experience, the things that you learn over time, you learn them in you learn big things at once. Like there's something that happens and you're like, oh, that is a big lesson that I learned. And then another 8 or 10 months will go by and then you learn another really big lesson. Mm-hmm. And then it's like nothing, boom. And then like something big happens and you learn a big lesson. I think many people assume these lessons that you learn are these like small little things. Every day you learn this, you learn that. It's like, no, every day is mostly pretty boring. And then occasionally you learn a really big lesson and that will shift your perspective. And I think that's generally how life happens, where most days are boring, boom, something happens. Big lesson, boring, boom, something happens. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I think many people have this idea that every day is supposed to be different. Every day you're going to be learning something new. It's like, no, most of the time it's boring and occasionally you get a big, big lesson.
I like that.
What do you usually see that ruins people's progress?
I guess one of, if not the most common, and it doesn't ruin, but it's hard to answer that absolutely literally. A perfectionistic mindset is something that you'll see a lot of, and it's kind of cliche. Someone who makes a significant amount of progress over a certain time frame because they are completely dialed in over that window. Might be, they lose 20 pounds in 12 weeks because they're hitting their calories every single day and they don't miss a single gym session. But then they're out of their routine, for a holiday weekend or a holiday. Basically, they're off plan and they completely spiral as a result of that, like that all or nothing mindset. is one example that comes to mind.
There's so many ways we could take this, like similar to that one, and then we'll go down other routes. Is people are like, oh yeah, I lost 100 pounds, which is amazing, but I gained 20 back. It's like, bro, you're down 80 pounds still. You're down 80 pounds. Like, but then because they gained 20, then they just keep going off track. And then it's like, you were down 80 pounds. This is amazing. So, and then it's like that all or nothing perfection. Well, I'm up 20. Whereas like, okay, but if you just, you didn't even have to get back to perfection. If you just got back to moderate, it would have been totally fine. You'd still be down 80 pounds, you know?
So in that example, it's almost like their perspective is they're seeing only the negative and not all of the positive that exists. Yeah. Because it's not the being up 20 that is their ruined progress. It's them only seeing the plus 20 that leads to them gaining another 10, another 10, another 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great example.
People do this with their lifting all the time, where like they'll be in 2024, their max deadlift was, I don't know, 200 pounds. 2025, their max deadlift is like 315, but then they have a bad session and they can quote unquote only lift 280. It's like, bro, your bad session is 80 pounds stronger than your max deadlift from a year ago. That's your bad session.
Yeah. Yeah. You need the perspective reframe of, no, this is up 80 pounds from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then there are other things where it's like, because those are things more like mental and mindset and perspective. Then there's other aspects of it's like, okay, let's look at like what could really hurt someone's progress, maybe from fat loss is obviously not tracking shit, not being aware of the cream that you put in your coffee, right? Not being aware of the oil that you're using to cook, those types of more practical, actionable things. I think, you know what's a big one? This is a big one. A more practical day-to-day thing is you've got a little issue, little slight bug and injury, and you keep trying to push through it. And that that little thing that just didn't feel good, that you're like, I'm going to keep going. What would have been fixed in a week will now take 6 months because you fucking idiot. I'm talking to myself. I've done this many times. It's like, you just kept going. You kept pushing until now you got a 6-month recovery. Then if you just took a week off, and not even a week off completely, but just didn't train that movement pattern, you would have been fine.
People struggle now we're getting into a different group of people.
Yes.
I can relate. It's like taking that little bit of time off, and people don't want to take that time off. Yeah. No, I have to. I can't miss a week. I can't even miss a session.
Yep.
Yes. The injury, the way that can compound into a much worse injury down the road, possibly needing surgery or just needing extensive time off is, that's a great example. People who struggle with, and this one's less common, but I've seen people who don't have a great relationship with alcohol stop drinking and make some really good fitness progress. And then as soon as they think, oh, you know what, I can manage this, and they're back on the bottle, and then fitness tanks, they fall into that similar pattern of, and I think more people than not who drink actually do a good job with moderation. And so again, this is applying to a subset of people, but it's something I've seen is falling back into that pattern definitely hurts consistency in the gym, consistency around nutrition, and you'll just see strength go down, muscle mass go down, body fat go up, how they feel worsens.
Bro, alcohol can be brutal, man. Alcohol can be really, because especially for someone who really struggles with it, but even for people who don't really struggle with it, it can still really fuck up with your progress. Like,
yeah,
usually when you drink it, usually for someone who is like at night, fucking with your sleep, you get poor sleep. You're not going to get a good training session in. If a training session at all, you end up eating like shit because you've been drinking. Like, alcohol is a real fucking beast. It's a real beast.
And so popular. It's just like
Yeah, I mean, I love
ingrained in
it.
our culture.
But
Yeah,
like,
but popular from the perspective of it's one of the main things that people do when they gather together. So it's linked
yeah.
so intrinsically to socialization
Yep.
in our and many cultures that it makes it especially hard for people who struggle with it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, super hard for people who struggle with it. It is cool to see it becoming more normalized to not drink. It's becoming a big thing now. Like,
Yeah.
it used to be really weird. I know there are still circles where it's like, it's weird. Like, what? Like, it's hard to go out into an event where you don't know anyone and you don't drink. Someone's going to be like, why don't you drink, type of a thing. It is weird to some people, but now more than ever in human history, is it, mocktails. It's a big industry. Mocktails is a huge industry. It's fucking huge.
Huge.
You know, it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
And just more.
It's big. Pretty, frankly. Speaking of someone who's never had a drop.
Yeah. What do you always say? Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs. Those are the three. Yeah, man. What was I going to say? Oh, just more research too around alcohol in the last 5 years. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 5, 6, 7 years ago, the consensus amongst a lot of evidence-based people, maybe 10 years, was that some like small amount of alcohol is healthier than zero alcohol.
Yeah, that was the consensus. Correct.
But from a physiological perspective, not like alcohol helps with socialization.
Correct.
Socialization's better than isolation. So
correct. No, just like cause effect.
No,
alcohol.
Like a little bit of wine, a glass, 3 glasses per week, or a small glass per night, or something to that effect, is actually better for you than none. Was what the scientific community consensus thought. And now
so people literally drank because they wanted to meet that, like, I think it's better to have a little bit than not at all. Yeah. Even people who like would have done without it.
And now the evidence is much more clear that no, from a physiological perspective, 0 is the best amount of alcohol to consume for your health. And
correct.
And you can make the socialization argument. You can make the alcohol brings people together, and isolation is super bad for you, as we know. And so some might be net better for you if it leads to more human interaction. Like,
correct.
There are arguments that are valid on that front.
But it's not like cause effect alcohol. That's the only variable. Like, no, it's.
Yeah. And that's now really understood by the masses. Like, whoever has done a good job of getting that science out, the collective, because I've seen recently someone got absolutely ratioed on Twitter for trying to argue like some alcohol is better than no alcohol. Like, you should drink some. And like it had like 5 likes, and the reply to it was like, actually, that's not true.
That's not true at all.
Like 900 likes. Like, people understand.
People get it now. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a real tangent.
That was good. It was a good tangent.
Yeah.
What's your go-to breakfast?
What's yours?
Lately I haven't really been having breakfast.
Cool.
Intermittent fasting. I've been intermittent fasting. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
your growth hormone's got to be off the charts.
Lately I haven't been eating breakfast just because the mornings have been really, really busy.
Cool.
Ideally, in an ideal world where I'm eating breakfast, I'm having berries, blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries, like the trifecta of berries right there. I'll probably have some type of Greek yogurt, Oikos Pro, 20 grams per, easy. I'll usually have 2 of those. So crank out 40 grams of protein, bunch of fiber from the berries. Often that'll be it. If I'm feeling like I want a little bit of crunch to it, I'll add some bran buds to it so I get even more fiber. And then coffee. Like a nice hot black coffee is my usual go-to breakfast. What about yourself?
I love it. Pretty much the same. Protein shake, a little bit of creatine. So just 6 ounces of cold water, scoop of protein powder, little creatine, some almonds, and a banana. It's kind of the the go-to. The one thing I've been doing differently recently is actually at nighttime, and we'll wrap this because I know you got to go, but in that post-dinner, like between dinner and bedtime, where a lot of people completely screw up their day, snacking, relaxing, watching a show, whatever you're doing in that window, Bran Buds plus either Core Power Vanilla or yogurt, but I've been like 80-20 Core Power Vanilla as the milk with a bunch of blueberries has been a game changer.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good for digestion and also just filling during a time frame when it's very easy to overeat on snacky type food.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds really good. Now I'm super hungry. I haven't eaten yet.
Sign us off, Jordan.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Please leave a 5-star review if you haven't already. The written reviews help the most. We hope you enjoyed the episode because we had a great time recording it.
We did.
Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon.
See you next week.